What's up, my friends? These divination sessions are all in regards to your shadow side, your shadow aspect, and what part of that needs to be addressed. That's it. That's the intro for today. You just have three piles. We have three piles to choose from today. Take your time as always. Tune into each crystal. Try not to let your mind get too involved, and whenever you're ready, we're going to jump into these readings. What's up, group number one? Welcome to your reading for what aspect of your shadow needs to be addressed. Now I'm just going to hop into the main message. So yeah, if you guys selected this Garnet, this is your reading. This stone has to do with sexuality. It has to do with our life force. And it's an extremely intense stone that has to do with the planet Mars. So, there's a lot of cards here, pile one, that suggests a certain aspect of trauma that happened in childhood. Now, I'm just going to say it how I'm honestly seeing it and how what the initial impression is and was, that this might have to do with some sexual trauma that had occurred early in incarnation. I mean, we do have the Nine of Swords here, which reminds me of bed, or the bed, and I'm just seeing there's a lot here that just tells me that it might come up, it might resurface when you are in your room or when you're in bed. And then we have the Queen card here too, which honestly goes hand in hand with this Garnet card. There's a lot here that talks about like healthy sexuality. And then, oh my God, this is crazy. And then we had the waters of my Red Sea part. I pass over on dry land. I now go forward into my promised land. So this is not going to apply for all of you, right? The sexual trauma that occurred in early childhood. For honestly a good chunk of you guys that will be drawn to this, that I feel like that will be the case. However, for others, I feel like this just has to do with the way that you cope with shadow in general. Might be through your sexuality, or might be through like if you experience a certain type of abandonment wound or something when you were younger, or felt like you were competing for someone's attention or your parents' attention, or just like this idea that you never felt like you were good enough, right? This message, this has to do just in general, regardless of the root of the shadow. The shadow aspect of this is showing up in your behavior as distorted sexuality, or having a distorted relationship to your sexuality. I feel like for many of you, this aspect of your shadow is something that you're probably very aware of and that has been following you around for a majority of your incarnation. But there's a lot here that shows that you feel trapped within the cycle of karma with this message in a bottle, right? I'm seeing more of these red colors. It feels like you can't get out of it. And it's interesting too that we have the sea here, and then it says the waters of my Red Sea part, and I pass over on dry land. So I feel like there's a big aspect. I'm sensing some sort of there's a deep identification with what has happened, right? Sexual trauma in general just could be involved in this, regardless of what side of that sexual trauma you were on, right? Because the way karma works is this is a hefty teaching to be giving through an online tarot reading, but it's just essential to remember that how other people treat us and how we treat other people. When we are at a certain phase of our evolution, when in terms of incarnations in general, and just in terms of how much of that we've unearthed within this lifetime, how much of it we've reactivated within this lifetime, a lot of the times until we've gone through awakenings, we don't have a lot of control over our behaviors towards other people. It's the carnal mind. It's when I say the carnal mind, I mean the belief in there being a separate power other than God, other than Source. And when we come into it in incarnation, when we take birth and we are absorbing the karmas of not only the planet, but just generational curses and generational mishaps, sometimes people act in ways and we can act in ways that that is not coming from the highest, right? It's just karma. It's just this old fucking energy. I don't know how else to say it. It's there's a sense of depersonalization that needs to happen here in order for this aspect of karma to be released, in order for you to set yourself free. Because I'm hearing this is something that you bottle it up. You don't talk to a lot of people about this because there's a lot of shame involved. There's a lot of shame, and I'm getting that there might be people on both sides, like people that have maybe taken advantage of other people, drawn to this, and people who have been taken advantage of, right? And it's interesting that here we are all meeting the same place, because it's essential that we understand and that we realize when we are seeing through the eyes of God that we understand what happens when we are not acting in alignment with Source, when we are believing in two separate powers, and when we have come into a planet that is mired with fucking illusion. But it's just it is so thick and it is so dense with distortion. That's not a bad thing, right? Distortion doesn't mean negative. It's just distorted of the light. There's heavy distortion of the light on this planet. So we are going to cause suffering to others, and suffering is going to happen to us. It's inevitable at this time on the planet, with all the purges that we're having, moving from third density, so solar plexus, third ray, yellow ray frequencies, into green ray. There's going to be a lot of purges of power, right? And so where do we gain power? Or where do people feel like they can get weak glimpses of powers by taking advantage of others, right? And where do sometimes those purges happen? On the other end of the scale, we're taken advantage of, right? So it's still coming from the same distortion of, I don't have power, right? And that distortion is going to play itself out in different ways, depending on karmas, depending on the blueprint, right? Depending on whatever it is that the soul came to explore. And, a majority of the people that come to my channel are here to clear a lot for the planet, right? So there's an essential part of you needing to remove your sense. The Nine of Swords to me just tells me that there's a huge identification in the realms of mind. And I just want to make it be clear and make it be important that I'm in no way justifying saying any type of behavior is okay or not okay. Right? That's not what I'm coming from. I'm just reading the cards as they are, and I'm channeling messages that are coming through from Source, from Spirit, right? This tells me that there is something, regardless of what end this is coming from or how you express your sexuality now, or what, even if there wasn't that sexual trauma in the beginning years, it's like sometimes we don't know how else to like restore abandonment or to get attention that we didn't receive from our parents. So any type of neglect that we felt like attention that we didn't receive. How else, where are we going to get that? Where can we get it? Just where the planet's operating at right now in terms of the major distortions of sexuality. Not surprised that it would be through, our sexuality, sexual distortion, right? This has to do with, there's a lot here about the sacral chakra and the solar plexus. So for a lot of you guys, what happened while you were in the womb? What your mother, the energies, the frequencies your mother was marinating in. You were marinating in her energies, I should say, right? And so whatever her distortions were going to be passed on to you, right? And so this is where it's really essential. And I'm hoping and I'm assuming that I have pretty advanced souls drawn to this channel, drawn to my channel if I'm guided to get this in depth and this cosmic and this philosophical, but I have a lot of ninth house placements, so that could be just that part of it. Yeah, I'm seeing the number 9 here too, so maybe you guys do resonate with this and you guys are ready for this advanced course, this advanced teaching, right? It's not anything that's transient is not you inherently. There's an over identification here that Spirit is really wanting you to release yourself from. Right? It's like you become a slave to whatever your mind is suggesting to you, right? This is the 3 of Pentacles moving into the 4 of Pentacles with my in-between tarot that you guys, if you've been to my most recent readings, I'm obsessed with this, with just the amount of detail you can get with this tarot deck is incredible, or that I've been getting is incredible. This means the 3 of coins moving into the 4 of coins. I mean, look at them. They're part of like a factory system, right? The fact that this pops up underneath the 9 of swords, it's like you are a slave to these emotions. It feels like they have no outlet. They can't get out. This is something you've been bottling up that you haven't shared with a lot of people because there's an immense amount of shame behind it, because you have overly identified yourself with this. Right, I am seeing too, also the reason why I feel like this might have to do with sexual traumas, because we do have people laying together here, and this little kid in the background, right? And then this is in the Cups family, and then we have these 2 beings, right? I almost take this as this little boy growing into a grown man, right? And him still carrying all of those wounds, right? I mean, if anything, it has put you into a space of being really connected to your emotions, a really compassionate individual, very empathetic. However, again, this is like, if we're not grounded within those lower chakras, it's going to be very difficult for us to feel confident moving forward or confident. It's just, you can still express and feel a certain degree of spirit, obviously. However, when we don't feel safe to be in the body, that's where we become a house divided against ourselves, which is a beautiful phrase in the Bible that has helped me understand trauma to a deep degree, because understanding that over the past maybe three to 4 years, maybe even longer than that, has been a really essential part of my path and my spiritual journey, and understanding where that comes to play, right? Because I wasn't seeing the results after my immense amount of awakening, because I wasn't seeing the results. And I had to understand that trauma plays a huge part in that. And that it's not bad, it's not something that we should wish away. It's essential to remember it's part of the fucking blueprint. It's part of, it's one of the reasons why you're here. So in other words, it's not something that's getting in the way of your dharma, or getting in the way of your path. It is part of your path. It's part of what you're here to help clear within your own field, so that the rest of humanity can understand too. What you clear in your field, you help clear for the rest of the planet, right? So this is one of the reasons why it's important, at least for me. It's been really useful to understand the multiplicity of layers in terms of how karma works, and how karma works in terms of a collective, right? Is that on one hand, you can think it deeply feels that, yes, it's all mine. I just saw 1111. Yes, it's all mine. But on another hand, it's everyone's, right? It's the planets. It's the collective of everyone that takes incarnation here. It belongs to everyone, right? So there's a deep depersonalization that needs to happen here. We have, in any moment, I can surrender to the powerful presence of love through prayer, contemplation, and stillness. So I feel like your mind has been going like a fucking million miles per hour. Like, maybe it's not all the time, but maybe just for whatever reason, when you get glimpses of your power, and when you get glimpses of like new paradigms coming in, I feel like your subconscious is like, oh, but what about this? That's a sneaky way, right? Oh, but what about this? You're not as good as you think you are. You're not as evolved as you think you are, because what about this that you did? Or what about this that happened to you? What does that say? Right? And that's just your indication that there's just still some lingering identification with your story, which is not a bad thing. We need to own the story. We need to be embracing and accepting of the story. But you guys, we're going to be doing this. It's in eternity. It is in eternity. We are here for an eternity. Do you realize how quick the days go by? Do you realize how quickly or how frequently you wake up thinking, oh my gosh, it's another day. Oh my gosh, it's another day. Oh my gosh, another year has gone by. It goes by so quickly. So give yourself permission. I mean, Spirit is like, there's some things that might need to be addressed here in terms of like going to see a therapist or whatever, right? But ultimately, there's an over-identification with the behavior. And so if you're drawn to my channel, there's a deep necessity for you to see therapists that are also very spiritually well-versed. They're out there. I found some, right? But it feels like this is something you've kept to yourself. You've bottled it up. It doesn't mean that you have not evolved. I see you have evolved into an extremely powerful individual. And a big part of that is because of what you've been through. A big part of that is because of your past. Right? And you do have a strong life force. There's an intensity about you that is undeniable. You are magnetic. People are drawn to you. I feel like people just spill their guts to you. Right? It's because they feel like you're a safe place. They feel that they can sense that you have similar codes within them or within yourself. Right? And I think I deeply feel that you have done an unearthing to a certain extent, but there's some remnants here, right? There's some remnants of the shadow, and Spirit is just drawing your attention to the fact that there's still some distorted ways that you behave, maybe especially in terms of romantic partners, or when you do feel those stirrings in like the lower chakras, especially, that's when you notice it the most. I feel like when you're independent and when you're doing it by yourself, you're great. But I feel like you might be in a place where you're like, God, I just want to have a partner, right? We have the King coming up twice, the Queen of Cups, and then this is just the Queen in general. But this is the Queen moving into the King. So it's like, I feel like you're ready and you've been up leveling. And anytime a counterpart comes into play, it's like your traumas are just like undeniable. That's what counterparts are here for, right? And even if it's like on this type of path that I see that you guys are on, I mean, it's essential to remember too that no matter how long a romantic spark lasts, it is going to do its work on you. So when you start to get triggered, or not triggered, but maybe that was, that came out for a reason. But when you start to feel like that excitement of like new love, be sure that those old traumas are going to come up. right? And it doesn't matter how long that spark of new love is there. It is there to trigger an essential. It's there to open you up essentially, so the next layer of healing can occur. Don't resist that healing. But this is all about, this, I'm guided to look at the bottom of the deck. We have Magician moving into the High Priestess, right? This is like all about rituals and like, what can you do to bring more conscientiousness, a deeper layer of stillness to your manifestations, to what it is you want to create in the world, and to just like a deeper level of conscientiousness around this trauma. Because I feel like you've been wanting to write it off or not fully look at it for what it is, right? Where did we have prayer, contemplation, and stillness, especially when your mind starts to go here. Like, that's when you go to the water, man. That's when you go to your waterfront. That's when you go to the beach. That's when you like take space and you just sit with it and you just depersonalize it. This is what keeps us bound to karma, is when we think it's ours, when we have identified ourself, the truth of who we are, when we've gotten confused of that with the carnal mind, with distortion. That's what it means to be on a spiritual journey. That's what it means to be on this ascension process. As you climb the ladder of densities, you go from seeing things from their less spiritual nature, and your third eye blasts open and you start to see the significance of everything, right? And you operate less from these realms of, it just seems like because we're moving, the planet is doing deep purges of those chakras in general, that this is part of your service. And so, it's like, I'm cautious of saying stuff like this because not everyone is ready to hear this. Not everyone is at a level of maturity spiritually where they can understand this. But I'm just trusting, if you guys are guided here, and this is the level I'm being guided to speak at, that you guys are ready to hear this. And there's maybe, if it doesn't click for you, if you don't understand that, that's your investigation. And if it does click for you and you're like, thank fucking God that someone else thinks this, then that's your confirmation. That is your permission slip to allow yourself to release a little bit more of the amount of tethering you've done. And remembering, old souls, we're going to play all the parts. There's so many different like mystics and sages and poems out there of beings that have reached high levels of God consciousness and God awareness, that really understand. Why do we trust people like that? Why do we trust people that have reached high levels of God consciousness? It's because there's a part of us that, even though the senses are here, the senses are always going to be influenced by the veil of illusion, right? So our senses the veil is going to block. The veil is going to block how much we're able to perceive the true nature of reality, right? But when we advance through, or when we open our higher chakras, especially the third eye and the crown, that is when we are able to perceive beyond the veil of illusion. Right? And so that's naturally why we trust teachers who we can feel have deeply done a lot of cleansing and removing, is because their connection to what's beyond the veil is a lot stronger. That's why beings that haven't done this spiritual work, like a lot of people, especially in early incarnation, for example, you understood there was something deeper, right, to life, but you didn't always know what it was. But you could feel there was a certain part of you that's like, I just feel there's something else to this, right? That's your intuition. That's your connection to beyond the veil. And so, this is all to come back and around to say, why have the people who have done the most spiritual work and have done the most clearing of beyond the veil, have developed the deepest union with God while still incarnate on this planet? Why do we trust their word for it, right? Because we know as we advance and we deepen our connection to that, there's an undeniable sense of authority. And things just make sense. Synchronicities happen. We just feel a deeper conviction that we didn't feel before, when that information was coming from the outside in, right? Now it's coming from the inside out. And so when you hear all these masters and yogis and mystics say things like, you are going to play all the parts, you're going to be on both sides of everything. Maybe I might even link some of these poems to you, but it's like, you are, you're the person, you're the police state, right? And then you're the person having its rights ripped away. You're the person enforcing, unjust, unruly laws, and you're the person having those laws enforced onto you. You're gonna play all the parts. We're gonna play all the fucking parts. This isn't an eternal dance until this universe and multiverse is over with and a new one is born. That's just it. So removing a sense of, this is me, this is my identity, this is who I've been. This is your gateway into freedom. Because this is something you've been carrying around, and I feel like you haven't spoken to a lot of people about this. Many people don't know your truth here. Maybe because the people you have told didn't trust you, or not didn't trust you, but didn't take it seriously, or just kind of wrote it off, or whatever. They were just not at a place within their own development that they could have really held the proper space for you. Right? This spirit is wanting you to take this to the source with this prayer, contemplation, and stillness. Take this to God itself, and you'll receive all the healing that the only lasting type of healing you will be able to receive. And then there's a certain amount of peace. You'll know you're getting closer when there's a certain amount of peace that you experience around this pocket of your shadow, right? It'll come up, it'll be triggered again, because, these things happen in layers. Karma happens in layers. It'll be triggered. And then you'll notice as the years go on, as the days go on, as the months go on, as you deepen your connection to that source, which is connected to things beyond the illusion, beyond the carnal mind, beyond the personality, you'll start to notice a certain amount of peace, because it'll make sense. So. As Ram Dass would say, so. That is how it is this time around. So I don't know the entirety and the multiplicity from this level, but more of that is revealed to me. More of those layers are indeed revealed to me. And I don't need to know all of it, but I can trust. Whatever I went through, whatever distortions are here, whatever shadow is here, it was meant to lay a certain foundation for a certain reason. If you're drawn to my channel, it has to do with service. I can tell you that. So in other words, it has more to do with just your own learning, just your own exploration, your own karma. It's a collective thing, and the other people that are involved here, right? All right, my friends, I'm going to leave this here for now. Many blessings on your journey. You have all that you need. Keep going in. Keep tuning into source. I hope I see you guys soon. Much love. What's up, my powerful pile number 2s? So here is your reading for, what it is. What aspect of your shadow needs to be addressed at this time. So you guys selected Purple Tourmaline, which this literally has to do with healing core wounds. With this card, coupled with the Crone card, you guys, this talks about wounds being carried over from past lives. There's a lot here that suggests that you guys work very closely with the spiritual realms, and that you have a very active third eye. I mean, this Purple Tourmaline has to do with the third eye chakra. And it says, working with spiritual law, I can accomplish the seemingly impossible. So for my group number 2s, this is something that has an aspect of shadow, an aspect of a wounding that has been not just within this incarnation, is what I'm trying to say. I feel like people have been intimidated, and you're going to see remnants of this in this lifetime, but people have been extremely intimidated by your connection to spirit. You guys are powerful healers. You have been powerful healers in the past. You guys are my seers. You guys are my divinators. You guys are the beings that have access to a wellspring of truth, right? King of Swords. And I feel like an essential part of your soul's blueprint and your dharma is speaking that. And I wouldn't be surprised if, to a deep degree, especially in early incarnation, there was a resistance or there was a fear of speaking this. Right? Because it's like, you've got some things, right? This Purple Tourmaline talks about entity attachments too. Right? In this sense, I feel like there's multiple layers to this card in particular. This 5 of Wands moving into 6 of Wands talks about, it's like, yes, a battle has been won. This is the in-between. So even though a battle has won, look at all those sneaky eyes in the back just waiting to attack. I feel like no matter how much of your power you embrace and how much you step into your power, there's this idea of like, the more powerful you become, it's like the more unsettled you become, because there are remnants from other lifetimes, and I wouldn't be surprised if you already know this about yourself. There are remnants from other lifetimes where you quite literally just saw 222 on the clock, where you stepped into your power and people were threatened by it. And so you're probably, quite literally killed or outcast or something, to where you have developed or you had learned this idea, and it's it's part of your Akash. So as you take birth again, it's going to be reactivated. But there's this idea of, I have to dim my light, dim to fit in, right? But we're at a different time on the planet, my friends. This is like the time to be alive in terms of being able to own and speak your truth and embody your differences, because the people are ready. The people of Earth are ready, right? And that was just your training ground. Those other lifetimes were just training ground. So I wouldn't be surprised if you guys had, maybe something in your Chiron has to do with standing out, or has to do with like speaking your truth, or has to do with the occult, or has to do with like being a leader in some way, like a deep part of what you're here to heal, or like South Node or whatever, right? Is because there's a deep mistrust. It's like the more powerful you become, I feel like the inherently a big aspect of your shadow, like the brighter the light, the darker the shadow, right? So the brighter you shine, the more you feel this remnant of like, it's not okay, or something bad's gonna happen, like waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? When I lean on the faith of the universe, peace becomes real. I feel like you guys have always had this like connection with spirit, man. That's like, y'all are homies. It's like you are so connected, right? You're so connected. You've always been so connected to something beyond. You guys are high level beings. I mean, we have the King of Coins and the King of Cups moving into the Page of Coins, and into the Page of Cups. This talks about like some sort of initiation, or like it's a sense of taking this old wisdom, and it's like a rebirth. You're not starting over from ground zero, but it's like a necessity to understand the roots of this shadow, and it goes beyond just this lifetime. It not only goes beyond this lifetime. So with this card, I'm being shown and I'm seeing how it has to do with like cellular, like the cellular body, or the subtle body in general. But it also has to do with generationally. You might have even been born into like a family where there has been within its ancestry, dating, hundreds of years back, that type of mistrust. And I'm going to be powerful. I'm speaking and embodying things that exist beyond and outside of where control states wants me to exist at, and I'm helping to empower the people, and because so I'm killed for it, right? I feel like this is saying for many of you drawn to this, it's like not only is that part of your Akash, but I'm not surprised you would take birth within a family too, where those codes were being passed down quite like genetically as well. Because that's gonna have that create an even stronger undertone of, it's not safe for me to be so wise. It is not safe for me to share this truth. It is not safe for me to have this type of wisdom and to share it. It is not safe for me to talk about all that I see. It's not safe for me to speak my truth. This says dispelling any negativity around core wounds. It even talks about alien invasion, possession, and unwanted attachments. Where did I see that? Right here. This reminds me of the unwanted attachments, right? So this could even talk about curses if you believe in that type of thing, but just ultimately feeling like there's this sense of being unsafe to express your truth. Working with spiritual law, I can accomplish the seemingly impossible. I feel like you've done that. And I feel like you've even had like demonstrations of that within this lifetime, but you only let it go so far. You only let this... You only let these demonstrations become so big because there's a sense of like you're going to be attacked for it. We have chaos and conflict. And then we also have the Seven of Swords moving into the Eight of Swords, right? So this is like doing the seemingly impossible. Again, yeah, we have working with spiritual law. I can accomplish the seemingly impossible. This guy's sword is literally broken, but he's still walking on. He's still moving forward. So even in small ways, this can happen where like we can go and like, for example, I've worked in organizations before where I knew I could understand that my power was triggering my boss or the people I was working under. And because of it, they did weird things where they would like, I'm trying to describe this so no one can figure out which part of my lifetime this happened in, but would do things where they would undermine my work even though the work was exceptional. They would come in and try to nitpick anything they could to undermine my work because for whatever reason my power was triggering them, right? The brighter the light, the bigger and the darker the shadow that is cast. So I feel like in weird and strange ways this probably happens to you where it's like you were an extremely wise and ancient soul, and so you get around these people that like can feel that power and it triggers them. It makes them think that there's something that they lack. And so in weird ways, they like try to undercut you or talk you down, or they like when they do notice that you have a flaw or that you have an insecurity, it makes them feel really good. They get some sort of weird payoff from it because they sense your grandiosity. They sense your wisdom. They sense the power behind your soul and the extent of incarnations you've taken and what's coming through now. And so in weird ways, I wouldn't be surprised if friends have done this too, where they just like, for whatever reason, it's like you can't catch a break. And you're like, who can I really trust? Because it's like the second you finally start to let that power come on full force, someone's got something to fucking say about it. And if they don't say it with their words, they say it with their energy. And in a weird way, they're trying to say, dim it. Your light is making me feel small, dim. Be great, just as long as you're not greater than me, right? I've worked with people like that. I've worked under people like that. And I've chosen to walk away from things like that because those aren't the games that I'm here to fucking play. And that's in spirit, this part of your shadow is asking you to have the same amount of authority within yourself. You are protected. You are highly protected. I'm getting goosebumps. I deeply feel that. I mean, you are here to be a leader. You are here to be in a position of power. 8 of Coins moving into the 9 of Coins, you are here to create something, right? To be the master of your own domain, the leader of your own domain. You are here to stand out. So it's this weird dichotomy of like, you come into people's fields, you come into workplaces, you come into organizations or friend groups, and naturally you're seen as a leader, whether you want that or not. Because generally when we have this in our soul's blueprint, to the extent that I can see it's within your guys' soul's blueprint, you do whatever you can to stay small and to be unseen. You want to be a wallflower, but it's impossible for you. You guys are going to fucking stand out wherever you go. It is impossible. So Spirits is saying, like, lean into it. Like, it's got to have to be addressed at some point. And the more that you repress, the more that you don't speak your truth, the more that you tiptoe around who you are and you came here to be, for what? So other people who have more distorted paradigms, who are operating under greater veils of illusion, can tell you what the fuck is up? No, pile number 2, that's not what you're here for. You are here to help shatter illusion. You're here to help break people out of their paradigms. And how do you do that? You do that by being unapologetically you. It doesn't matter how many fucking people have ill intent. Doesn't matter how many people gain these envious eyes, right? Ram Dass would often say, and I believe this came from someone like one of his teachers, how other people respond to you, that's their karma. So people are wishing ill will upon you because you're stepping into their power. Guess what? What is the likelihood that they're not going to experience the fullness of their power? What is the likelihood that they're going to have incarnations where they don't experience the fullness of their power? I'm not here to say I know how it works, because sometimes these things can happen there can be a soul contract on a higher level to catalyze us in this direction of being like, I'm so fucking done with this. I'm so tired of like holding my truth back. When I know more than other people, or I feel like I'm coming from a deeper place of truth. Right? So sometimes we don't always know, but you can trust that they're going to be taken care of. Right? And as long as someone is wishing that you don't step into the fullness of who you are, that says a lot about the paradigms they're operating under. Right? So release it. Forget the fuck about them. That's going to be taken care of. You're divinely protected, pile 2. You are extremely powerful. And understanding that these things are here to catalyze you in a certain way, too. You are meant to be a leader. You stand out. So it's that weird dichotomy of like, people are drawn to you. People see you as being this leader. You are a visionary. You are deeply connected to spiritual truth. But at the same time, it's like people, like even your elders, people that are older than you, like have always sensed that you are an extremely old and an extremely advanced soul. So you're putting these positions of power because it helps the organization forward, or it makes someone look good to be around a person like you of your stature or whatever. But then a deeper part of them, it's like you can't help but trigger this stuff. It's because your paradigm is so big. When your paradigm is big, when you're operating with less veils of illusion, and you're embodying a certain amount of light codes, right? And you're intermingling with the fields of other people, that's going to trigger their dormant codes too. That's going to trigger the extent of their own shadow that they haven't dealt with. Right? So this is kind of one of those piles where it's like a big part of your shadow is how great you are. And how much you have dimmed yourself down. You have dimmed to fit in. And it doesn't matter how much unearthing you've done to this point in time, just notice the remnant ways, because there's going to be people at different parts of this, right? Different parts of this journey. Of what ways are you still selling yourself short? And there's a difference between, I'm not saying that you're throwing pearls at swine, so you're not sharing things with people that aren't ready to hear it, or that you can deeply feel wouldn't even be receptive to it, because that's, can be detrimental to both parties involved. But you're not holding back when it feels right, out of a fear of being misunderstood, or out of fear of being too much for people. This group fears being too much for people, or coming across as a know-it-all, or coming across as someone that has all the answers, right? That's not it. And if someone thinks that it's it, that's their karma. How you respond is your karma. How they respond is their karma. Just focus on you. Focus on setting yourself free. That's your dharma. That's what you're here for. And it seems like this has felt like a very lonely path, because it's like you're either the leader, right? Or you're being singled out by people that you thought were your friends, and that you thought had your back, but are just waiting for you to slip. Just waiting for a little insecurity to show so they can jump on it. But I promise you, as you begin to embody this energy, and you really lean on when I lean on the faith of the universe, your peace becomes real, because you understand you are connected to something beyond mortal minds, right? You are connected to the only source of power there is. That's the only protection you need. It's the only protection that it's like there is only one power. There's not like light and dark. There's only light. And then there's distortion of that light, which is darkness. It appears as darkness. So if you're going straight to the source, man, you are connected, and you guys are very connected. Working with spiritual law, I can accomplish the seemingly impossible. You are here to accomplish the seemingly impossible within this incarnation, and you've been prepped. This is lifetimes of work you guys have been preparing for. And this might not even be it. This might not even be the lifetime where it culminates, right? Or the culmination. That might be another lifetime. But it's really essential that you become okay with embodying who the fuck you are. And understanding the chaos and conflict is a result of a powerful being, a being so powerful as you, coming into this realm of distorted light and shining bright. That's going to create a lot of discomfort on the planet. That's going to break the status quo. That's what you're here for. You, my friends, have an extremely powerful mission. Not to say anyone's mission is any better or any worse, but it's like, you have been doing this. You have been preparing for this. You have been preparing to be a way shower in a very powerful way. And the people need you, my friends. It's, again, this 8 moving into 9. You've been working. This is something you've been preparing for. And now you are here to see, to reap the results of that. No matter how much you've tried to play it small, my friend, it's gonna continue to become more uncomfortable. And you're going to continue to have more awkwardness in your field, and really feel like your self-expression is not on point, the more you resist this. But if you just say, okay, I surrender to my highest potential. Just start your days off with saying that, and watch what happens for you. Watch how the magic unfolds for you. And Spirit's like, yes, we've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for this. And just remember, if there's any ounce of you that fears like the evil eye from other people, whatever, you are divinely protected. It's like return to sender. It's going back to them. Don't dim to fit in. Speak it how it is. You are here to be a speaker of truth, the bringer of light, the light bearer, right? So that's going to cause a lot of discomfort to beings that have put their trust in distorted aspects of light. So my pile number 2, I'm going to leave this here for now. You have all that you need. You have all that you need, man. Don't dim to fit in. That's like the final message here. Please like this video, comment anything down below that you feel guided to, and I hope I see you guys soon. Subscribe too. What's up, pile number 3? I'm just looking at your cards, and there is a lot of deep emotion I'm feeling here for this group. I mean, you guys are coming through, and don't get me wrong, we're addressing shadow here, right? This is a part of an aspect of your shadow that needs to be addressed, but you guys are coming through with this agape and this King of Cups and this my fearless freedom lights up the world. Wow. You guys are showing up as extremely pure souls. You guys selected this angel phantom quartz. And I'm not surprised that a lot of these, or, you know, 2 of these piles in particular really had to do with childhood trauma. I feel like a big aspect of your shadow has to do with whatever you experienced as a child. This talks about healing repressed memories, alleviating negative emotions that have been haunting you from the past, releasing yourself from trapped memories to gain your own personal freedom. We have my fearless freedom lights up the world. So a big part of your shadow has to do with, like, you guys come in as being extremely bright. I'm so emotional. I'm not even like anywhere close to being on my moon cycle, but I feel like you guys have just been holding in so much. I sense there is a certain amount of resiliency to this pile. And I sense that you have not spoken to a lot of people about things that you have gone through, or many people don't understand what you've been through, or I think a big part of what I'm feeling is just, especially as a parent, you see trauma from a different degree when you become a parent. And you see it from a different angle. And so when you have extremely pure beings come in that have so much love, and their hearts, they come in with their hearts wide open, and then they're traumatized, it's really hard to see that. And the ways that we close down then, the ways that we mistrust life because of that, and the ways that, you know, a being that comes in with such codes of endearment, with such powerful codes, like the King of Cups and the Agape to come through, just tells me that it's like one of your biggest curses, the thing that feels like your biggest curse is also your greatest gift. And that is your compassion. That's the seat of your compassion, the seat of your empathy, and just the extent and the magnitude that you guys are able to love. I feel like you guys might have even experienced things where maybe trauma wasn't necessarily happening to you, but you saw it happening to people that you loved. And so you so deeply just wanted to take the weight of the world off of their shoulders. And for some of you, this absolutely has to do with things that you experienced yourself. It says, empower yourself and write your own story despite whatever has happened to you in the past. You owe that to yourself. There's a lot here of like, we have fearless freedom lighting up the world, and all that glitters. You guys have so much. There is so much to you guys. And I feel like there's a deep aspect of you that, like, you sell yourself short. I mean, we have the 8 of Swords moving into the 9 of Swords, and the 9 of Swords moving into the 10. I feel like whatever has happened has felt absolutely debilitating. Whatever your past has been feels absolutely debilitating. You feel like you cannot move forward. On one hand, you have so much love for people and so much love for this planet, but you feel absolutely bound by karma. You feel absolutely bound by this trauma. You don't know how to get out of it. You don't know what to do to move forward. And I feel like because you guys are coming through as such compassionate-based individuals, you don't blame other people. And I mean, that's not the answer. I'm not saying that's the answer, but it's like, I feel like you've misplaced the blame, and a part of you has been like, I must have deserved it. Even if you can't conceptualize it, that's just the feeling I'm getting, because you guys are such heart-based beings. It's like, I deserved that. There's something, I must have deserved that. Must have been past life. It must have been something, because you guys have hearts of gold, and it's either been taken advantage of, or we have the Wheel of Fortune. So this is the in-between tarot. We have the Wheel moving into Justice, but it came up in a reverse position. This is the only card that came up reverse. So it's like an inability to see. I mean, in an upright, this to me tells me of like an understanding of karma, and like a healthy balancing and a healthy kind of movement of that karma being able to be processed through a system, or there's an opportunity for that. But I feel like because it's in a reverse, it's like there's a deep tie, for whatever reason, a deep inability to be able to undo yourself from this karma, to release yourself from it, to see your own innocence again. We have the Page of Swords moving into the Knight of Swords. We also have the Page of Wands moving into the Knight of Wands right? So there's a strong energy here of like innocence, right? Of newness, of renewal. And both of these talk about initiation. So this one is going from school into adulthood. This just might tell me where vast majority of you guys are in terms of like the age of your body, but this just tells me your spirit, right? It's like you're ready for the next phase. You're ready to let go of this old story. Like she's moving into the world of career, so out of school into like embodying her career, and this guy is moving from like he is now going to be the leader of the tribe, moving into a knight from a page. So now he's going to take over and kind of be the person that other people look up to. So you guys are here in a powerful way to be a leader. We have Emperor moving into the Hierophant, right? So, I mean, these are both like, this just tells me no matter whether you are here to be a leader, like what it looks like. Some of you are here to be spiritual leaders. Some of you are here to be leaders in other ways. It doesn't matter. And yeah, you also have the Fool moving into the Magician. So you guys are extremely guided. We have Lovers moving into the Chariot, right? This just tells me of like, okay, things are starting to get good. It's like, yes, I feel like to a large extent, you guys might have really done a lot of this unearthing already. And this kind of feels very similar to another pile, but it's like, because of what you've been through or what you've witnessed, there's like a mistrust. You mistrust humanity, and I don't fucking blame you for it. But it's like you guys are a deep, our greatest karmas and our greatest traumas are most definitely linked to our dharma, right? Because there was an aspect about this that you had to deeply understand in order to be the leader that you were meant to be. You had to understand the human psyche to a certain degree. And pile 3, I'm sorry that you had to see or witness or experience the things that you had to. Because I'm hearing that you just are such a brilliant being with incredibly pure intentions, like you wouldn't hurt a fly. And you've had to go through some experiences that made you feel like you couldn't love or that you couldn't trust your heart. And I'm hearing it's inhibited quite a bit of you being able to connect with other people, feeling safe in your body, feeling like you can create relationships, even though you have so much to give. It's so clear that you have so much to give. It's become an inhibition. Because you feel like ultimately you question yourself, you question your every move. Am I actually good enough for this? It's interesting that we have Angel Phantom Quartz allows you to release yourself from trapped memories to gain your own personal freedom. And it says, my fearless freedom lights up the world. I feel like there's, and watch your motives with all diligence, for out of them, can you see that? For out of them are the issues of life. So if it's like, if part of your shadow is about, releasing yourself from trapped memories and finding personal freedom, and it says my fearless freedom lights up the world, but then we have watch your motives. So this to me tells me that you guys might avoid getting close to people. You guys might avoid relationships. You guys might avoid opportunities to face this aspect of your shadow, invitations to face this aspect of your shadow. You might avoid those. Because I'm not sure, there's going to be people coming at this from all different levels of their healing journey, but for many of you guys, I feel like you're still deeply bound by this. And maybe you might feel free to a certain extent, but there's like that lingering feeling of like, when things start to get too close, when you start to feel too connected to someone or the love becomes so intense, it's like, no. You like retract back into yourself and you're like, I can't trust this. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I mean, you have every right to have created that protection mechanism for yourself. But it's just watch your motives with all diligence. This is you really investigating your motives and behaviors, right? For them are the issues of life, right? This could even be talking about, with this, all that glitters is gold. This could even be talking about like, it's that phrase of not all that glitters is gold, right? So watching your motives with all diligence can be like, where do you sell yourself short? Where do you receive like fragments or like bits and pieces of love? Because it for whatever reason, it's like, allowing you, it's that parent that you didn't get the love from, or that it's that parent that abandoned you, or it's an aspect of your childhood trauma that you went through. And it's like taking on the form, right? So there's certain codes that are being activated by someone that allows you to kind of rewrite the story of that past trauma, but in a way that is still keeping you bound to it. I hope that makes sense. So all that glitters is not gold to me is like when we have a lover, we select a lover, because we do have lovers coming underneath here, right? That's oftentimes where this childhood trauma, I just saw 1, 2, 3, 4 on the clock, where this childhood trauma can play itself out is in our romantic dynamics, right? So when we, it's like we're trying to rewrite the story in a distorted way sometimes when we select certain partners for certain reasons. And when we become obsessive over partners or whatever, it can be because there was a certain amount of neglect that happened, or we're trying to prove, like when we become obsessive about someone that we deeply love, it's because we don't want them to leave like our parent did or something, that kind of thing. So an aspect of your shadow that needs to be addressed is whatever stories, whatever narratives you have adopted. This is about taking what that is and understanding it from a higher lens of perception. When we're in this energy of feeling bound to what's happened to us and unable to find that karmic release, right? It's because we're attaching our identity. We're so enmeshed and immersed in what we think that means about us. Like we have adopted our story as being us. And there's different layers to this. Like to an extent, it's like if you're denying that you've been through trauma, that's one thing. I used to do that. It wasn't until I was 25 that I even acknowledged that I went through trauma, that I even used that word in association with myself. But it wasn't until then that I was like, I started to experiencing a certain amount of power within myself. And it's like, now my relationships, right now it's like this has an outlet because I'm not running from it. I'm not trying to like justify it. I'm not trying to deny it. But it's like, because of that, I'm able to relate to the heart of humanity. This is what agape reminds me of. Like, not only are you showing up as this in the lives of other people, but it's like you are connected to the heart of humanity. This is a deep part of your service to the planet, understanding trauma to this degree. And then however you're here to, again, whatever, if you're in like a more psychologist perspective, or if you're coming from a more spiritual perspective with this Hierophant and Emperor, it doesn't matter. A big part of what you're here to give to the planet is utilizing all this bullshit that you went through, creating a new beginning for yourself, understanding everything you need is going to be taken care of along the way. He has all of the elements, right? The Fool is jumping off and becoming the magician. He has all the elements that he needs to move forward. He's guided by something much greater than him, much bigger than him. Something that not everyone is going to be able to see. So it's like once you can understand, once you accept what has happened, and you don't make it mean anything about the truth of who you are, the core of who you are, right? But just understand as much as you can, learning to understand the relevancy of how that was here to lay a certain foundation. Those things that happen early in incarnation, believe it or not, is part of this earth school. This is a fucking school. This is a university. It was meant to lay a foundation for the rest of this incarnation. Whatever happened is an integral part of what you are here to bring to the planet. Write your own story despite whatever has happened to you in the past. You owe that to yourself. That's what it says. Faith, healing, renewal. I feel like you guys have so much to give. You guys are incredibly bright beings. And I feel like a big part of like, yeah, you guys have guides here. I mean, we have this eagle coming through. So it's like, despite how bound you have felt, I feel like your connection to spirit is next level. It's like you knew what you were getting yourself into, is what I'm trying to say, in other words. And you had a powerful team of guides behind you, assisting you with this. A lot of this is not your own, Pile 3. A lot of this is your service to the planet, what you came to help clear for humanity. And that's why I think that's why I'm feeling that's, I get that, there was so much emotion because I could just feel the amount of like the forgetfulness, how much you have forgotten. The veils of illusion have bound you. And this is not to say you haven't done a certain amount of work, but I feel like I was tuning into just like that small child that just had so much love to give and so much love to want to experience, and then it came in as such a bright and pure being, and that spark in your eyes slowly started to die as things and bullshit, more shit started to happen in your life. And you witnessed the things that you did, you experienced the things that you did, and you may not mean a certain thing about yourself subconsciously. But you're ready for the next phase. You're ready for the next phase of your power, rewriting your story. You're ready to jump off, and you're ready to utilize all of this unearthing and this rawness. This is raw power. The shadow is not negative. It's quite opposite, and I feel like that's maybe one of the reasons why on this earth plane at this time they want us to think the shadow is negative, because you deny a hell of a lot of your power when you operate from that level. Your shadow is a deep access point to your greatest gifts. I mean, without it, I would even argue to say without your shadow, you cannot truly fulfill your divine destiny. You cannot fully fulfill it. Not to the extent that your higher self had intended, at least. Freeing yourself from this. Yeah, oh my God, it literally says you have a profound relationship with your spiritual team. You have a profound relationship with your spiritual team. What did I say? Your guides have been with you over your shoulder, watching over this. This is not by accident. Don't settle. Do not settle for less. Do not settle for dimmed down versions, diluted versions of what you deserve. And the more that you understand this trauma, the more that you see it's not something to be ashamed of, the more that you embrace it, the more that you see how you avoid certain situations because you're afraid of that trauma resurfacing. You avoid relationships, you avoid job opportunities, right? You avoid things that would allow more of your brilliance to come through because you guys are fucking bright. But you avoid situations that would allow you to experience more of that because this cord is still active within you. It's going to be different for everyone drawn to this, but this cord is still active. You still, to a certain degree, dim yourself and don't give yourself permission to see how far you've actually come, right? Because there's still a portion of your psyche and your subconscious that feels like because this happened to me, because I went through this, I'm not good enough. I'm weak. I'm not powerful. I can't do it. But there's ready. I'm hearing you are ready. There's initiation that's happening. This. I'm not sure what's going on in transits when you guys are watching this, but the time is now. Watch with all diligence your motives. For out of them are either the issues of life or the gifts of life, the treasures of life in your incarnation and what you can do. Understanding it from a spiritual lens, right? Asking your guides, not closing down the heart, keeping it open. That's your biggest gift. Even though it's been taken advantage of, that's their karma. That's not your karma. How you respond is your karma. Choose to set yourself free, not to be bound by it. Because I am seeing again with this wheel and justice card in reverse, that you have felt very bound by this. It has felt like you can't get out of it, and that no matter how hard you try, you feel awkward, you feel anxious, you feel all of these things that relate to the heart and connecting with other people. Being the leader, being the fucking leader you were meant to be. Own it. All parts of it. That's the leader I want to work under. That's the leader I want to work with. Is someone who's been through it. Right? I met someone. I met someone a few years ago. He's a multimillionaire, 30. He's around my age. And there was a point where he said he could hardly look someone in the eye and speak to them. 7 years later, he's traveling around the world speaking on stages in front of 50,000 people. That's when I heard that, I was like, I want to work with you. What? Tell me. Because I went as being someone that was so scared to just even talk about myself in a group of 5 people would create the most deepest anxiety attack, right? Because I didn't understand. I didn't have the context to understand how much of that story and that narrative remained unintegrated. As you integrate that, as you heal that trauma, as you bring it with you, it becomes one of your greatest gifts. Because then when you look into the eyes of other people, you see how everyone has that remnant cord of trauma. We're all 50 shades of fucked up. We're not leaving this earth unscathed. None of us. right? But you are here to work with, you went through all that you did. You experienced it to a degree that was necessary in order to set you up to be a true leader. Someone that's truly gone through it and someone that can truly help other people out of their darkness, right? I don't want to be around someone that hasn't gone through it, or work with someone who is just like, seems like they, haven't really had much trauma to work through or whatever. And then, okay, yeah, obviously it's going to be easier for that person to accept that they are worthy of those positions. But someone who's been through some bullshit and felt completely unworthy from it, and in spite of that, still gone on to do and accomplish incredible things and touch the lives of millions of people. I want to work with that person. That's the type of person, individual you're here. That's the extent of change you're here to make on the planet. Even numbers don't matter, right? It's the depth of being able to penetrate the hearts of other people. The depth of your authenticity is what's going to change this world, and you have a lot of it to share. Pile number 3. You have a lot of it to go around. So I'm going to leave this here for now. Like this video, subscribe to my channel if you've been here before. Many blessings on your journey. You have all that you need. You guys are so powerful. Thank you for being part of my channel and just gifting me with your presence and your energy. I hope I see you guys very soon. Much love.